So I want to ask you a few questions about your experience with quitting smoking.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so obviously super excited that you're a non-smoker because obviously we don't want you to be smoking. But so how long ago did you quit smoking?
So it was about almost 5 years now. It was 5 years. It'll be 5 years in January. I know that UK basketball and the Bengals were playing on the same exact day.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So I'd made the decision. I still had a part of a pack of cigarettes, so I went to the bar with my dad and decided I'm gonna finish this pack while watching these games, and then that's gonna be it. So
Wow. So
yeah.
what was the trigger? Like, what was the reason that you decided to quit smoking?
Yeah, so my dad had actually called me earlier that morning and asked if I had time to meet up and talk, which is totally out of character for him. So I was like, yeah, that's fine, but why don't you just tell me now? Because I know there's something going on. So he did share that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer. I mean, it was a pretty easy decision from there. So like I said, yeah, I made the decision. I met up with him that day, finished my pack, and haven't looked back since.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
I have actually had two family members, my grandmother and my stepfather, both passed away from lung cancer. I know your father is amazing. Tell us how he has been doing.
Yeah, so the doctors actually, I mean, it's kind of morbid to talk about, but it's true. The doctors sometimes look at him and say, I mean, to be honest, we don't really know why you're still alive, but let's keep doing what we're doing. So he's been getting chemo for 5 years now. So he goes every 5 weeks at this point. And he's always worked full time, it plus overtime. He hasn't really let that slow him down. So I think just his positivity there is what's keeping him going. Plus he's really stubborn, which is maybe where I got that from. So I think that's helping him out in that area.
That's awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear that because lung cancer is a tough disease. I know from my family members going through it, it is a very tough disease. So the earlier that you can quit smoking, the better, so that you can avoid that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you just quit cold turkey. Like, did you use anything else or did you just quit? Like, how'd you do it?
Yeah, so it's really a mind game. I was really big on straws because so much of it is just like having something. So I would cut up straws until almost like the same length and chew on them a lot. I got to the point too where as a mental game, and to this day, like I still carry it with me. It's like a small vape pen, but I don't use it. It's a mental game that I play with myself. Knowing, and I don't know, as a smoker, if you smoke your last cigarette, you might not even want one, but just knowing that you don't have one, for me, it was always, well, I need to go get more. So just knowing that like, oh, it's there, but I don't need it. That's like a mental game that I have to play with myself. It's so weird.
So that's interesting. Like 5 years later, you still like play a little mental game with yourself.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a craving, but it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things I don't know, when you can't have something, you want it, or maybe that's just me, but that's how it is. So just knowing that, oh, that's my
Aren't we all like that?
yeah, exactly. So just knowing that it's like, oh yeah, it's in that bag somewhere. I know it's really weird, but yeah, if it's a mental game that works, then I'm gonna keep playing it.
Hey, that's awesome. Like if it's worked for 5 years, then more power to you. We'll buy you all the straws you want, Liz. That's awesome. So tell me, how did you feel? Like, did you see any like physical benefits or like mental benefits? Like, how'd you feel after you quit smoking?
Yeah, I think the biggest one was just the ability to breathe better. I mean, I think that that came the quickest, was just realizing you're not waking up in the morning coughing like crazy and having to explain why you sound like that. But yeah, I think just the being tied down, so mentally feeling like, oh, I don't have to find times to take a break and stop what I'm doing because I need a cigarette so bad, or not feeling like, wow, I just ate dinner. Man, when can I get outside and go smoke a cigarette? So there's just kind of like a freeing of not feeling like, when am I going to have to make time to go smoke my next cigarette.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure we have a lot of people at RDI that would like to quit smoking. So what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, I think it comes down to making sure that you're doing it for yourself. So if you want to quit because someone else wants you to quit, that's probably not going to work for you. So you have to have a real honest conversation with yourself, and figure out the reasons why you want to quit and do it for you. There were times before where I was challenged to quit, or somebody else was like, oh, I would like you better if you didn't smoke. But ultimately it came down to, I decided for myself that I didn't want to anymore.
Excellent.
So find your why.
Excellent. That is great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz.
No problem.